One thing I find very interesting right now is this whole notion about how the economy is doing so well. And on the opposite end, you hear stories about how people are taking on more loans and taking on more debt. We have credit card debt that's ever increasing. We have office buildings that are going into default, and basically big companies walking away from those debts. And that's exactly what's happening right now, guys. You have big companies out there that are refusing to pay their bills. Okay, now first of all, I wish I could refuse to pay my bills, because then I would be rich. If I didn't have to pay any of my bills, I could get away with it. Well, the most recent company that's decided to do this is Wework, and they're actually choosing to skip out on $95 million in interest payments. These guys have been in trouble financially for a little while now, and they're trying to look for ways to fix the problem so they don't go out of business. And given the fact that they're in the office business, they basically cater to people that want to work in the office, which isn't very many people anymore. They're struggling, which is not a big surprise. And look at this. It says that the missed interest payment will give the WeWork company time to negotiate with their creditors and free up liquidity as the company attempts to institute its turnaround plan, basically their last-ditch effort to make sure they don't go out of business. So they're trying to do things like renegotiate leases and stop people from canceling their memberships. Personally, I don't get it. I know some people like going into the office and having somewhere else to go besides home, but for me, I like just working from wherever I'm at. That's one thing I've been doing since I've been on this trip, like I bring my computer with me, all my recording gear, and sometimes I'll go out like this and make a couple videos and just edit from wherever I'm at, guys, and just get it all done. And I like the flexibility of that. I don't need or want to be in an office, but I can see why some people might want that. But this is a big struggle for WeWork right now. And this company is hemorrhaging money like you wouldn't believe. In the first 6 months of 2023, they've already reported $696 million in losses, and they're only hanging on to $205 million in cash. It says they even have the cash to make the interest payments, and they might even decide to make that a payment in the future. Right now, they're trying to implement their turnaround plan and see if that works. I wish that all of us had the same privileges as corporate America has. Not only do they have these amazing tax privileges, but also they get to decide which bills they want to pay and which bills they don't want to pay, and go through bankruptcies and do all these shenanigans essentially. And don't forget, this is a publicly traded company, so people who ultimately own shares of WeWork are going to be footing the bill for all of this in the end, in the form of share prices going down. So I think it's just fascinating when you hear that everything's doing well with the economy, but we see so many stories week after week that's pointing to the opposite. Whoa! That is a broken coffee cup. In fact, here's another one for you. The Dow, it dropped 360 points recently, which is a 1.1% decline in one day. S&P 500 also declined 1.2%. So it looks like the whole euphoria in the stock market could be over as well. Now, you guys know that I'm not an expert in this, but I like following the stories. And for the first time this year, the Dow has went negative. It's down since the beginning of the year, since year-to-date numbers are lower than they were at the start of the year. The problem is now that the Fed is saying that they're going to keep interest rates higher for longer, we're having Treasury yields spike. In fact, the 10-year Treasury is now up to like 4.7%. And guess what else is going to happen from that, by the way? You're going to see interest rates for mortgages continue to go up as well because of that. And so the problem right now is stocks are suffering because the yields on bonds are going up, and basically pushes investors into a safer investment, which would be a bond rather than a stock. And that's why you're seeing this happen right now. And the other problem is the jobs numbers keep coming in too hot. In fact, the U.S. job openings went up to an estimated 9.61 million open jobs in the end of August this year, which is not the news that the stock market investors want to hear, because that means that the Fed is likely to continue keeping interest rates higher for longer, which they already said they're going to do, but it also means they're likely to hike interest rates again before the year is over. And so we have 10-year Treasury yields at 4.75% right now, and that's the highest level we've seen since August 2007, and we all know what happened back then. that's just the hilarious part, guys. You know, when I read stuff like this, you know, I'm old enough to remember the last recession. I was in my working years, just starting real estate, and I know what the flashing warning signs look like, and this is it. You know, it's all here. It's all here, and now it's just a matter of time before everything just kind of implodes. And that's what we're waiting for. That's what I'm waiting for. I know there's a good chunk of people out there that think that's not going to happen, but all of these things that are continuing to happen are clear indicators that it will happen. We just haven't seen the real effects of this recession really play out just yet. Even on the 2-year Treasury right now, it's at 5.13%, which is the highest level since July of 2006. And check this out, CNN, they have a fear and greed index, okay, which fell to an extreme fear reading of 17, which is the lowest they've seen since last October. So you can tell a lot of people are actually freaking out over this right now. And maybe you're not, because I'm not. I'm just like grabbing my popcorn and watching with you guys and kind of reporting on what's going on. But you know, a lot of people have a lot of money at stake when it comes to their investments and retirement accounts and all different types of things. And this is like basically the turning point of, is the magic show going to go on forever, or is it about to get a whole lot worse? So now they're thinking, because oil prices are rising back to close to $100 a barrel again, and unless the jobs numbers come in lower than expected on the next report, then it's pretty much guaranteed that the Fed is going to hike rates again, which is going to be not good news for a lot of people. And here's the funny thing. All these investors, they're always thinking that the Fed's going to step in the moment that there's trouble, and guess what? They're not. In fact, the Fed could step in right now and reduce its quantitative tightening, or say that they're going to be pivoting and lowering interest rates soon, but they're not going to do either one of those things because inflation is still a problem. In fact, it's going back up, guys. We have this jobs report that is way higher than it should be in terms of what the Fed wants to see. So they're not going to come in and save this market just yet. Now, a lot of people who are experts in this field think that they will eventually, and I probably agree with them. They probably will, but it's probably not going to be until there's been substantial losses in the stock market. So what it looks like right now is that the Fed is basically going to be staying on the sidelines until something actually breaks. At least that seems to be the direction that they're headed with things right now. And so you're just going to continue to see these bond investors get destroyed with this because the pivot's not here. Everybody was thinking the pivot was going to be here by the end of this year, guys. I remember covering this earlier in the year with all these predictions that people were making, saying, oh yeah, by the end of 2023, the Fed's going to already have pivoted and lowered interest rates a couple of times. We're going to be back down to 5.5% mortgage interest rates. And in fact, we are in the opposite situation where not only are the rates going to be higher for longer, they're going to be raising the rates again probably very soon. And mortgage interest rates are at like 8% right now, or very close to it, probably more than that for most people if you don't have stellar credit and income. And here's something funny about all of this right now. When it comes to the jobs reports, okay, it's estimated there's about 1.5 job openings for every unemployed person in August. And it was about 1.53 in July, so it barely has moved at all since then. The one thing that's interesting about that is, how is anybody even unemployed when there's far more jobs than actual unemployed people? That never really makes sense to me. At the same time, you have unemployment increasing. In August, it increased. The quit rate is at a 1.5-year low, which is people quitting their jobs. And they think that the reason for that is because people are not finding better opportunities, so they're sticking with the job that they have now. And guess what all this means? This is all conditions for the next Fed rate hike to be right around the corner. And I'm ready, guys. You know, I'm saving money. So right now, savers are actually getting rewarded for this. You know, it finally makes sense to save money again. If you have, you know, high yield savings accounts, if you have CDs, if you're investing in treasuries, money market accounts, any of these things, you can be earning over a 5% rate right now on your cash, no problem. And I don't even remember the last time that was possible. Probably when I was a small child, actually. So this is actually a very good opportunity for people who are kind of just saving and waiting it out to see what's going to happen, you know? I know some people are just like bullish forever on investing when it comes to, continue to dollar cost average into the market, people that say real estate's never going to go down, I'm going to, buy investment properties forever, go ahead, but you're obviously taking on a tremendous amount of risk right now that people who are getting a 5.5% return are not. So that's up to you. That's your prerogative. But all I'm saying is this can actually be good news if you are a saver. And so basically right now, saving money is being rewarded and spending money is not. And that's the whole point of these interest rate hikes. Oh, you want to buy a house? You're going to be looking at 8% mortgage rate. Oh, you want to buy a used car? You're looking at a 9% interest rate for the auto loan. Like, people that are trying to fight the Fed essentially are losing big time right now in terms of how much money they have to fork over to make that happen, to make that purchase possible. That's why you're seeing, car sales going down. That's why you're seeing home sales at basically record lows right now, because the interest rate hikes are finally starting to work, guys. And the most interesting part about this to me is that since these interest rate hikes have a big lag effect, in a year from now, things could easily be worse than they are right now, because we're just now feeling the interest rate hikes that happened from a year ago. And what's it going to be like in a year from now, especially if they continue to keep rates higher? Say the Fed doesn't lower rates at all until sometime next year. Oh man, things are going to be getting crushed by this time next year. Here we have a fairly new listing. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath, $1.5 million, as if that's normal. I know, right? Well, around here it is kind of normal. They listed on September 21st, so it's hard to know if it's going to sell at that price. They paid $1.2 million for this place back in 2019, so who knows? And before that, in 2015, they paid $710,000. So just unbelievable how these property prices have essentially doubled in less than 10 years if someone's willing to pay this much for a house. Totally nuts. Here's another sign for you that things aren't doing too well with this economy. A few days ago, I covered how more and more banks are doing personal hardship loans, which is something I've never even heard of before until I read about this. I always knew you could take a hardship loan from like your 401k, something like that, but the banks actually giving you a personal hardship loan is news to me. Well, now they're offering another product besides this. And what it is they're basically offering small dollar loans. It's a flat fee loan for loans up to about $1,000. So think of it as like a payday loan, but you get it through the bank and the interest is not as crazy, or the penalties, it basically is not as harmful as a payday loan. And it's better than running up the credit card balance because you're just paying a flat fee. You're not having the revolving balance and interest continuing to accumulate on a loan like this. There's no collateral involved, and you don't risk having your vehicle repossessed or having a lien put on your house or worrying about foreclosure or anything like that. It turns out that actually a year ago, more and more banks started doing this, and as of right now, 23% of all branches of banks in the US are offering these small dollar loans. And what I'd like to know is, if things are going so well and this economy is so robust, like we keep hearing over and over again, then why are they offering these loans, guys? Why do people need an extra $1,000 from the bank just like that, unexpectedly? Now, I know even if things are going well for people, things can come up and somebody could need money for an emergency in almost any situation. But that also means that you don't have $1,000 saved up for that emergency to begin with. That's what it means, number one. And number two, they wouldn't be offering this if a lot of people didn't need it right now. So there's no actual numbers reported on how many people are taking these loans, but I would imagine it's pretty substantial if you're going to have, 23%, almost a quarter of all banks in the country offering this to people. Going to be interesting to see how it is when I get back to Miami. It's like 77 degrees today, so it's pretty warm for the Bay Area. But I bet you this is going to feel cold compared to when I get back home. Now, we already know that the United Auto Workers have been on strike for a little while now, and the next strike that could potentially happen by the time you guys are watching this video, Wednesday this week, is the Kaiser Healthcare Group, okay? They're saying that up to 75,000 workers that work for the Kaiser Healthcare Group could be doing a strike this week. What this all comes down to with these strikes is these workers want better pay. They want better benefits. They want better treatment in the workplace. They want shorter work weeks. They want quality of life upgrades and to be able to afford life, because life is becoming so unaffordable. And I don't blame these workers for wanting that. But one thing I wanted to mention from this is I feel like everybody wants that, right? And you don't have to be in a unionized workplace to want that. And so one thing I wonder is, why don't people get unionized altogether when it comes to citizens of this country, guys? Why can't we all form one big union and say, yeah, guess what? Starting next month, none of us are going to pay property taxes. None of us are going to pay homeowners insurance, and strike on that stuff. See how fast that these insurance companies and local counties and government are going to come to their knees, because people are getting basically raked over the coals with these costs of homeownership that you have no control over. You either have to pay, or your mortgage will reinstate insurance for you. If you don't have a mortgage, you take on the massive risk when it comes to insurance anyways. But with property taxes, no one's immune to that. Doesn't matter if your property's paid off, doesn't matter if you have a mortgage, doesn't matter anything. You could have lived in that house for 50 years, you stop paying the property tax bill, they can foreclose and auction you off. And so it makes me just wonder why people are still doing this. Why are people still paying, guys? Like, why can't enough homeowners throughout the country organize just like a union would and say, you know what, we're done. We want fair property taxes, or no taxes at all, because we already pay enough other taxes and all forms of other things. We pay sales tax, we pay income tax, we pay capital gains taxes, we pay all different types of taxes. Why do we need to pay these property taxes? And the other thing is too, when it comes to property taxes, people get charged for the local school district, right? What if you don't have kids? I don't have any kids. Why do I have to pay for other people's kids to go to school? So it's like all these different things when it comes to property taxes that can be fixed and modified and reduced, because they're getting out of control. And where I live in Florida is a perfect example of that, because Florida has seen an astronomical rise in property values, and that's coming along with a rise in property taxes. But as somebody who lives there, I see the local government's raking in all this cash from all this extra property tax, and where does it go? It doesn't go anywhere that I can see, guys. The roads are still congested, things are still broken, stoplights that still don't change on time. All these different things that should be happening and should be getting fixed. When they're collecting all this extra money, it should be easy to fix everything, because it all comes down to money, right? But yet it seems like nothing ever gets improved, even though they're making double or triple the money they were just a few years ago. So I don't know about you, but I think it's a joke. And it's not just Florida, guys, it's everywhere. So I don't know how I could organize something like that. Obviously I have a small influence here on YouTube just for the people who actually watch my channel, but I feel like an idea like that needs to catch fire here in the future, because it's just not fair, guys. We're being ripped off by the people in charge. Our government doesn't work for us anymore. They just do what they want once they're elected, and we're paying them all of our money to give away to foreign countries, to waste on programs that do nothing, and pay off all these property tax bills every year and still have the same broken streets and everything to go along with it. And one last thing I just had to mention here, that's just like a joke, because this is just too funny. When I was planning this video and I came across this, it just made me laugh. In case you didn't know, there's a thing called AI girlfriends, okay? They'll send you photos, they'll chat with you, all for a low cost of $9.99 a month. Check out this clip here real quick.
I'm Alice, a 25 years old, fun-loving and adventurous girl, seeking a partner in crime to travel the world with and make unforgettable memories. If you are new here, let me explain a few things. You can chat with me as much as you want, and I'd be more than happy to learn more about you and please you in any way I can. If you want me to send you a photo, you just have to ask it in the chat, like, "Hey Alice, can you send me a picture of you?" And I'll be more than happy to send you one.
Well, I guess all you men out there, all your female troubles are over, guys. All you need to do is pay $10 a month for your virtual girlfriend to send you little nudies on your phone and say everything that you want to hear. And there won't have any arguments, no paying for dinners, no sex either, so have fun with that. But for some reason, guys are doing this and guys are paying for this. That just goes to show you how desperate a times that we're in. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you don't want to wait for my next video to come out, check out this one on the screen right over here, and I'll see you in the next one.